Today we're going to talk about the landforms and waterways. This is chapter 12, beginning of lesson 1. This is physical geography of Western Europe. Our learning objective is to understand the countries of Western Europe have a unique geography that shapes their landscapes. The uniqueness is the fact of the mountain ranges and the rivers and how much they have to do with placement of cities and boundaries of political borders of countries. At the end of this, you should be able to identify the different landforms and waterways in Western Europe. The guiding question that we're going to focus on is, how do the physical features of Western Europe make the region unique? Now, the countries we're talking about today is Ireland, United Kingdom, otherwise known as Britain, France, Luxembourg, Germany, the Netherlands, Belgium, Austria, and Switzerland. The first place we're going to talk about is the low-lying plains. Most of Europe is a plains type geography. They have two major mountain ranges, but the majority of these areas are flat. France, Belgium, the Netherlands, Luxembourg, and most of Germany are located in this plain. This is all because of an ice age that ended 11,000 years ago. A lot of it is the same as we talked about Canada and being shaped by ice. The ice age as Canada was. England and Europe had the same ice age. The glaciers also left behind not only poorly drained wetlands, but also sand dunes in different parts of Europe. We have two major mountain ranges we're going to talk about, the Pyrenees and the Alps. I have maps on the next couple of slides that we can see them better. They are the youngest mountain range in Western Europe. The Pyrenees Mountains, they form a natural barrier. You have France and you have Spain. And right here you have the Pyrenees Mountains. And they form a natural border between these two countries. Next we have the Alps. You have France and Germany to the north, Italy to the south, and you have this whole area is considered the Alps. Now, Austria and Switzerland, which is right here, very well known for their skiing. The Alps is one of the places that a lot of people go and major destinations for skiing and vacation. The sea we're going to talk about first is called the North Sea. It's part of the Atlantic Ocean, but it's shallower. It separates the island of Britain from the rest of Europe. It is a very rich for fishing, for oil and natural gas. That's used for trade. The major issue with the sea is it is very rough and very difficult to go across, and it has caused lots of problems. Now, if you look in the vocabulary, you saw polders and dikes. The reason why the Netherlands uses those mostly is because they're 25% of the whole nation is below sea level. So they use these dikes to build up, and then they drain the land with the water behind the dike, and that land that they've drained is called polders. Now, it does create land for farming and housing, but it's also against the North Sea, which is a very rough and difficult sea. And the seas have broken these dikes multiple times over the recent years, and it's very difficult for people that live there because of the rough seas and the storms to be very confident that they're not going to get flooded. So it is a huge issue for them. But Netherlands is one of the major leaders in this, and they're very advanced in getting this done, and they've come a lot of way in building dikes and stuff like that. And a lot of countries look to them when they're looking to build dikes and do land for this. The British Isles. So this is the North Sea that we were talking about, is on this side. And then you have England, you have Scotland, you have Northern Ireland here, and you have Ireland here. Northern Ireland and Ireland on their own island, but all of these islands together are known as the Atlantic Archipelago. Um, England, Scotland, and Northern Ireland are all part of the United Kingdom. Um, but but Ireland is not. And if you want to make somebody from Ireland very mad, ask them if they're from Northern Ireland. Um, it is a very difficult relationship. People from Northern Ireland to Ireland have to exchange the type of money they use, even though they're just going across a border on a small island. Um, England uses the pound, which we'll talk more about that, and Ireland uses the euro, which we'll talk more about that later too. But these islands all together are known as the British Isles. Next thing we're talking about is the English Channel. It is the area that separates Britain from France. It is very high traffic because there's a lot of trade goes on through there above the sea, and below the sea they built a channel. It's called the Channel, Chunnel, and they have dug a tunnel underneath where they have trains that go back and forth, and there's also a road that you can take from England to France. It's very high traffic and very well used. Next thing we're going to talk about is the rivers in Western Europe. Uh, the rivers in Europe have determined the location of a lot of cities. London, Paris, Hamburg. A lot of these cities were established during medieval times, and they really needed a way to get through quickly. And during that time, a boat was the easiest way to get around. Another things the rivers do is they provide transportation routes for goods and people even today. They provide political borders. The rivers linked by canals provide transportation networks from inland areas to the sea. They provide water for farming and electric power. The most famous river is the River Thames. It is in England. It's 205 miles from Cotswold, England Hills to London, England. In London, it becomes an estuary. That estuary is 65 miles long. The Rhine River is the busiest waterway in Europe. It goes from the Swiss Alps, which we looked at earlier, to the North Sea. It cuts deeply through the Rhine Highlands and connects industrial areas to the port of Rotterdam. It is a political boundary for France and Germany. It's also been disputed quite a bit. A lot of people know the Rhine from battles. It was a big battle in World War II and World War One. This runs the most populated region of Europe. This river is very well used because the majority of people in Europe live close to this river. Another important waterway is the Elbe River. It's also in Germany. It used to form the boundary between East and West Germany during that time. It from 1945, which was the end of World War II, to 1990, part of Germany was controlled by Soviet Union, and the other part was independent. And after 1990, the wall was taken down, and Germany became one country, which we'll talk about more when we get into the history of these countries. Danube is a river in Germany. It's eastern Germany's most important waterway. The Main River. It's a tributary of the Rhine, but it's linked to the Danube by the Main-Danube Canal. The canal links the North Sea with the Black Sea at the southeastern end of Europe. We have the Loire River, which is in France. And we have the Seine River, which runs through Paris, France. It carries far more of the country's inland water traffic. A lot of people use the Rhine to get around in France.